The chain was old, rusted, and far too tight for comfort. It wrapped around his neck like a noose, biting into the skin with every twitch. For 7 long years, that cold metal was all he knew. No soft grass under his paws, no warm hands stroking his fur, no kind voice whispering, "Good boy." Just the creak of the chain and the distant sound of a world he had never touched. But everything changed on a Tuesday. You see, this isn't just a story about a dog. It's a story about freedom, about pain and the fight to rise above it, about what happens when someone finally says, "Enough." In a sleepy town just outside Manchester, the old house on Oak Ridge Lane had a reputation. No one went near it. The gate was always locked, the curtains always drawn. But the barking, faint, desperate, and consistent, had never stopped. Sarah was new to the neighborhood. A veterinary assistant with a bleeding heart, she moved in 2 houses down. Her dog, Milo, always paused near the gate. His ears perked, nose twitching. Something inside sensed the quiet suffering hidden just beyond. One morning, as fog clung to the ground and dew kissed the hedges, Sarah walked by with Milo and heard it again. A low, tired whine. She stopped. "Milo, did you hear that?" she whispered. The whine came again, softer this time, as if the soul behind it was too tired to cry. She peeked through the rusted bars. Her breath caught. There, crouched in the far corner of the yard, was a dog. A big one. Mud-caked fur, ribs visible, eyes dull but watching. Sarah's heart ached. She returned the next day. And the next. Each time, she left a treat by the gate. The dog never came close, but the treats disappeared by morning. On the 4th day, she saw the chain. "Oh my God!" Her voice trembled. "He's chained." She knocked on the front door, her heart thudding. No answer. She tried again the next day. Still no one. But the porch lights worked. Someone was home. Or had been. Sarah called the local animal control. They logged her report, but warned it could take time. They needed probable cause. They needed permission. She couldn't wait. That night, Sarah sat on her porch staring at the house. Her mind raced. She wasn't a rule breaker. But every moment that passed felt like a betrayal. She imagined the dog alone, sleeping on the cold earth, the chain a cruel reminder of what he couldn't have. The next morning, she brought bolt cutters. The gate creaked as it opened. Milo stayed behind. Sarah's boots crunched on the gravel as she approached slowly, hands raised. "Hey, buddy. It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The dog growled. Low, guttural. But didn't move. Up close, she saw the damage. The chain had embedded into his skin. Flies buzzed around the wounds. The smell of rot made her eyes water. "You poor baby." Tears blurred her vision. She knelt beside him, inch by inch. He didn't flinch. He didn't flee. He just stared, tired, resigned. She lifted the bolt cutters. "It's gonna be loud," she whispered. "But I promise this ends now." With a crack, the chain snapped. The dog jerked but didn't run. Instead, he looked at her. Not with fear, but disbelief. She reached out a hand. "Come with me." He didn't move. His legs were trembling. Sarah took off her jacket and gently wrapped it around him. His body tensed, then collapsed against her. 7 years of silence broke in a single whimper. She carried him. Neighbors peeked from windows. Someone gasped. A man across the street whispered, "That's the chained dog. He's real." Sarah placed him in the back of her car. He didn't resist. She drove straight to the clinic. Dr. Patel met her at the door. "What happened?" 7 years, Sarah choked. "He's been chained for 7 years. They got to work. Sedation. Cleaning. Antibiotics. For fluids. The dog didn't have a name, so Sarah called him Chance. Because that's what he deserves, she told the staff. For the next week, Chance barely moved. He slept, ate, and sometimes just stared at the wall. But when Sarah entered, he always looked up. One evening, as she reached for his water bowl, something changed. He stood. Wobbly. Slow. But on his own. Sarah gasped. "Oh my God. You're standing." He took a step. Then another. The clinic fell silent. Nurses watched from the doorway. The sound of his pause, soft and uncertain, echoed like thunder in the quiet hall. Chance walked to Sarah, laid his head in her lap, and let out a long, deep sigh. That was the moment Sarah knew. He wasn't just healing. He was beginning again. And this was only the first step. Chance's first steps were shaky, like a newborn foal unsure of its legs. But they were steps. And for a dog who had only known the length of his chain, they were a triumph. Sarah stayed with him each evening, sitting beside his recovery bed, reading out loud or simply talking about her day. No expectations. No commands. Just presence. Just kindness. It was something he'd never had. On the 10th day, she brought him outside. The clinic had a small grassy yard, fenced in and safe. As the sun spilled gold across the lawn, Sarah unclipped the leash and stepped back. "It's all yours, buddy. Go ahead." Chance sniffed the wind, blinked at the light, and stepped forward. Grass brushed against his paws for what might have been the first time. He froze, then looked at Sarah. She nodded. "You're free now." And then he ran. Not far. Not fast. But his legs moved, his ears flopped, and his tongue hung out in a way that made Sarah laugh through her tears. The clinic staff clapped from the window. A nurse wiped her eyes. Dr. Patel, usually stoic, whispered, "That's a miracle, right there." The video went viral. Sarah had captured it all. The first step. The uncertain trot. The look of wonder in Chance's eyes as he felt what freedom truly was. The dog who took his first step to freedom became an internet phenomenon. Messages poured in from around the world. Offers to adopt. Donations to the clinic. Artists sent paintings. Children wrote letters. But Sarah wasn't ready to give him up. One night, sitting in the clinic office, she said aloud, "He chose me, didn't he? Or maybe I chose him." Dr. Patel smiled. "You both chose each other." By the end of the 3rd week, Chance's wounds had healed enough to consider discharge. But he was still fragile, mentally and emotionally. Sarah knew rehabilitation would take more than medicine. So she brought him home. Her cottage was small, warm, and filled with quiet love. Milo, her golden retriever, had been watching from afar. The two dogs met cautiously. Milo wagged his tail. Chance lowered his head. But there was no growl, only understanding. The first night at home, Chance curled up in the corner, far from the bed, far from the couch. Sarah laid down a blanket beside him and slept there too. Morning came with a surprise. She woke to find Chance on the blanket, with his head resting on her arm. Day by day, trust grew. Milo became his guide, showing him how to play, how to beg for treats, how to bark when the mail arrived. Chance observed everything. Slowly, joy returned to his eyes. The chain was gone, but its memory lingered. Thunder made him tremble. Sudden movements made him flinch. But with every gentle word, every soft pat, every belly rub, those memories loosened their grip. Sarah introduced a new routine. Morning walks in the meadow. Quiet afternoons in the sun. And each evening she whispered the same thing before bed. "You're safe now. You're home." One afternoon a letter arrived. It was from a woman named Laura, hundreds of miles away. "I saw Chance's video," she wrote. "I believe he belonged to my father. I'm so sorry." Sarah read on. The woman explained that years ago, her father had become reclusive after her mother's death. He refused visits. Locked the gates. And yes, he had a dog. She had tried to intervene, but was turned away. He passed away a month before Chance was found. "Thank you for giving him a second life," she wrote. "I couldn't save him, but you did." Sarah folded the letter with shaking hands. That night, as she watched Chance asleep by the fireplace, she whispered, "You weren't forgotten. You were just waiting for the right moment." Weeks turned to months. Chance gained weight, strength, and confidence. He no longer feared the leash. It meant adventure now. He no longer growled when touched. He leaned into it. But one thing remained. He never barked. Sarah had almost accepted it. Maybe the trauma had taken that from him forever. But then came the day at the dog park. It was a sunny Sunday. Children laughed, dogs played. And Sarah sat on a bench watching Milo wrestle with a Labrador. Chance stayed close, alert but calm. Then a little boy tripped near him and fell. Chance ran over. Not to attack, but to check. He sniffed the boy, nudged his arm. The boy giggled. And Chance barked. A deep, joyous sound. Sarah dropped her coffee. Other pet owners looked around. "Was that him?" a woman asked. Sarah nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Yes, that was Chance." The dog looked at her, tail wagging, tongue lolling, eyes sparkling. It wasn't just a bark. It was a declaration. He was no longer a prisoner. He was living. But even as things got better, a question began forming in Sarah's mind. A question she couldn't shake. What if someone comes to claim him? And with that thought, the peace she had found began to tremble. The uneasy thought lingered in Sarah's mind for days. What if someone somewhere stepped forward and claimed Chance? Legally, the risk was small. His previous owner was gone, and no one else had come forward besides Laura, who had no intention of taking him. but trauma leaves its own shadow. Sarah decided to write Laura back. She thanked her for the kind words and shared an update. Chance had not only survived, he had come alive. Pictures were enclosed. Chance sunbathing on the porch. Chance playing tug-of-war with Milo. Chance napping in Sarah's lap. The reply came a week later. I cried when I saw the photos, Laura wrote. Please keep him. He deserves the love you give. My father may have chained him, but you helped him break every link. It was the closure Sarah needed. Life settled into a rhythm. Chance had favorite toys now. He had a bed, though he still preferred the cool floor sometimes. And his bark. It became a thing of joy, reserved for greetings, play, and the occasional protest when treats were delayed. Then came the local rescue gala. Sarah had been invited as a guest of honor. The clinic had submitted Chance's story. People knew him. He was the symbol of survival. The dog who walked into the light after years in the dark. That evening, dressed in a simple navy gown, Sarah held Chance's leash as they stepped onto the stage. Gasps and applause filled the room. She spoke into the mic, her voice warm but trembling. This is Chance. He didn't just survive. He forgave. He trusted again. And that's something more powerful than anything I could teach him. Tears filled eyes across the hall. We call it animal rescue, she continued. But the truth is they rescue us too. Chance barked once. Loud. Clear. Proud. The crowd rose to its feet. From that day forward, Sarah and Chance became known in town as a pair, inseparable. Schools invited them to talk about animal welfare. Kids sent drawings. And every time someone asked if Chance remembered the chain, Sarah answered the same. He remembers, but he chose not to let it define him. Years passed. Chance grew older, slower, but never lost that light in his eyes. One winter evening, Sarah sat by the fire, his head in her lap, and whispered, You've given me more than I ever gave you. You showed me what it means to heal, to hope, to begin again. And in that quiet moment, she realized something deeper. Freedom isn't just about breaking chains. It's about what you do after they're gone. It's about choosing love again, trusting again, living fully despite the scars. Chance didn't just walk away from his past. He ran toward a future, tail high, eyes bright, heart open. And in doing so, he taught everyone around him one powerful truth. No matter how broken your past is, you still deserve a beautiful future. That was his legacy. That was his freedom. And it was only the beginning, for him and for everyone who dared to believe in second chances.